Hello and welcome to my third live stream on Twitch. Yeah, that's it. That's right. This is my third live stream. Hello and welcome. Okay, it's working. I just checked the audio. And what we're going to be doing today is some live visual effects. I'm going to show you how to take some footage into a program like After Effects and how to process it to get some tracking data. And then you can add really cool visual effects like floating objects and monsters and creatures and, you know, all that fun stuff. So if you're joining me here on Instagram, I'm going to encourage you to join me live onto Twitch. That is going to be preferred. If you can, that would be amazing. Because then you'll be able to see all the goodies. Okay, so I think I can detach my chat window here, hopefully. How do I do that? Detach the chat window. I got a lot to learn about Twitch, but I'm excited for this new journey. All right, so I'm just going to make the window a little bit smaller here. Hey, what's up, Peg? Oh, wow, look at that. I can see your comments live on my screen. They're a little hard to see with no background, though, so maybe I should add a background behind your comments. Or actually, maybe my other programs are on the darker side, so you'll probably be able to see it. Okay, so yeah, I just said it, live visual effects. What do I mean by that? Well, I got some footage here that I shot on my iPhone over the weekend. And I'll show you a new shot here. So if we go to Twitch tutorials, this is for Crystal 2. So here is some footage that I shot this weekend in Santa Cruz. I'll flip the screen temporarily here so you can see what we're doing here on Instagram. So this is some footage I shot on my iPhone. It's of this really cool little cliff area, and I thought it would be a really good shot to maybe add some cool animations, maybe some floating objects. Maybe we'll do something with forces. We have to kind of think of what stuff would belong on the beach. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Thank you, Pug Matt 15, for joining me over here on Twitch. So thank you. It says Pug is here, and it's day 4, by the way, not day 3. Oh, sorry, good point. Well, the first one I did was a super test, so it was only for like a few seconds. So this is my third like full video, I guess. Another question from Pug Matt 15 on Twitch says Pug is here moderating, and if you can also I'll send you info. Thank you, Pug. All right, so yeah, we're live on Twitch. So great. This is all great. I just need to find a way to actually see the chat live because that would be preferred. Is this it? Oh, that was yesterday's or the other days. I just need to find a way to actually see the. How do we grab the Twitch? That would be preferred. There it is. Detach. Is this it? Nope. Oh, that was yesterday's. Or how do I do that? One more time. Sorry, this is Super Medics. I'm hearing myself talk. How do we grab the Twitch? Let me mute myself. What is the button to detach the chat bar? Anybody know how to grab the chat window separately? Okay. Well, since I don't know, I'm just going to. It should be as simple as grabbing it over here. What's this? Edit your stream title. No. Okay, we got chat settings. Show mod icons, show timestamp, emotes only task. Is there an option to detach your chat? Refresh chat, user chat. Okay, so this collapses it, but I want to actually, okay. I don't know the way to do it, so I'm just going to cheat it, put it over here on the side of the screen here. Yeah, okay. Anywho, let's jump into it. We're gonna do some visual effects on this shot here. So what you see here is just some footage. So let's just start off in Adobe After Effects. I'm gonna open up After Effects here. Oops, accidentally hit Audition. Let me cancel that. Audition's what I use to edit podcasts and stuff. Okay, so let me go to Adobe After Effects, and we'll just get right into it. Pug, are you able to see your comments appear on the screen? Because I wish I could see them too. Okay, well, I'll just flip the screen here for internet. All right, so we're going to start off with a new project. And what I'm going to do here... Oh, Don, if I don't answer much right now, it's because I'm doing a research paper. Oh, by all means, work on your research paper. Totally understood. Oh, it says drop frames detected. All right, so I might need to end the live stream here on Instagram so that I could do the full stream on Twitch. We're going to be doing all sorts of visual effects, so please join me over on Twitch TV. Okay, cool. So we got After Effects open, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our footage of that ocean and drag that into Adobe After Effects. Yes, I'm on the mobile and I can check for you later. Okay, cool. Thank you, Pug. All right, so let's go ahead and full screen this as much as we can, ideally. Oops, did not mean to close it. Let's just go there. There we go. All right, so you got your footage inside of Adobe After Effects. Hey, if you're joining me here on Instagram, I encourage you to join me over on Twitch TV. We're doing some Adobe After Effects visual effects workflow. It's going to be really cool, and I'll see you hopefully on twitch.tv. It's got a nice mic. It's going to have a better microphone, and it's my full screen, so you can see exactly what's going on. All right, so see you on Twitch. First thing we're going to do in Adobe After Effects is right-click on our footage and create a new comp from this selection. Right away, you can see your footage is loaded properly into After Effects, and you can scrub the timeline to check it out. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, first thing I like to do is take my footage and go into my Effects and Presets console and look for the 3D camera tracker. And we can drag the 3D camera tracker effect right onto our footage. Now it's going to take a couple of seconds or minutes, depending on your computer power, to analyze the background of your footage. What the 3D camera tracker is trying to do is establish what exactly your footage is trying to establish where the camera was moving in three-dimensional space. So think about it. When I moved through that footage, you see that we have the nice cliff face here. It's in front of the ocean. It's got lots of different detail. And so as I was moving my camera on that cliff, we want to know what that positional data is so that we are able to put cool animations and cool objects into the scene. So one idea that I'm kind of playing with in my head right now is maybe having a bunch of magnetic objects that are floating and are highly reflective. And I'm thinking what I could do with them is, as the camera moves through the scene, I think it might be really cool if they have like a repelling force and the objects kind of have a push away effect. So maybe if we have a bunch of floating rocks, the rocks can maybe float away from the object as we're getting closer to it. Now the things to note though is analyzing your background footage can take some time. This was about 1,000 frames. No. Yes, it was about 10. Wait, can't do math. It was about 1,000 frames, and so it needs to go through each frame and establish depth of field. So we're here on Twitch right now showing you my full screen. This is my visual effects pipeline. It's going to be cool. So we're in After Effects. We're tracking our footage. It's always our first step, because the thing is, you don't want to start doing all your visual effects to just learn that your footage isn't going to even work, because that would be not fun. So instead what I do is I like to track my footage properly, make sure it works, and then once we have a good tracked data, then you work on the effect. So I'm just trying to kill some time here while we're waiting for it to analyze. Plenty of times, even today, I might film footage that I think works, and then I get the solve back and it doesn't work properly, or it didn't solve correctly. So just a general rule of thumb for getting footage to work well for visual effects is include lots of high contrast points on your footage. So I saw all these rocks and all this sand, and I thought this is probably enough contrast to capture over time. You also don't want to have a lot of motion blur. So if you're moving your camera around quite a bit, you might lose a lot of important tracking data. So you want to kind of keep a steady motion, but you do want to stay in motion the whole time because it uses this calculation called parallax. Hello everybody on Instagram. I'm live streaming on Twitch right now. It's my full screen. We got a way better microphone, so please join me over there. Okay, so there's what you're seeing is a solving camera, and what we do for visual effects is you first need to solve the camera's position in 3D space. It's a longer calculation, and it's not using your graphics card. It's mostly using your computer's CPU to calculate where in space your camera should have been based off the footage. So I'm just letting it solve the camera, taking a couple seconds here, really hoping, fingers crossed, that it works. I would say it should be done in another 30 seconds. Please work, please work, please work. Switching to Twitch. Yes, hello Limitless VFX. I'm giving it a shot. I'm trying it out, you know. That's my approach to things. When I want to do something new, and if I have a theory in mind, I want to try it out. I want to test it out. And so I want to just try out Twitch. It has a lot more streaming possibilities. Okay, cool. So look at that. Our footage is tracked. And you know it's tracked because look at all of these things, all of these little X's. All of these colorful X's that you're seeing are all of the successfully tracked points in After Effects. If you don't see your points very well, you can go to this thing up here. It says track point size, and you can increase the track point size. And look at that. All these colorful X's are all the points that were tracked correctly in three-dimensional space. It's insane. So I like to turn on my render track points, and I like to just play the footage through. I'm going to kill the audio on the footage. So I'm just playing the footage through, and I want to make sure that there's enough successfully trackable points. And you see all these colorful X's here. These are all of these X's are the successfully tracked points. And you basically want to have a shot where these colorful X's are always in frame. If you lose all of your colorful X's for too long, you won't have trackable footage, which means your visual effects will never be able to live in your shot. So if you're seeing this now on Instagram, you should just jump onto Twitch TV. It's all about visual effects. It's going to be really cool. See you there. Okay, so great. Now that we've got our footage tracked, we need to create a ground plane. We have to tell the program where is the floor, because right now it doesn't know what the floor is. We have to define 3 points, at least 3 points, and given those 3 points, we'll be able to establish what is the ground plane on our footage. So since I'm planning on loading, an asset at the very end here, what I like to do is just increase my target size. And you can, if you can't choose the 3 best points, you can just draw a circle around all your favorite points, and it creates the average. It creates an average, it creates an estimate of what it thinks the ground plane is. So I'm going to just go around here and just grab all of these points in this area, and then ask After Effects to guess what it thinks the ground plane is. That's a pretty good guess. That red target is pretty great. So I'm going to right click on it and click on Set Ground Plane and Origin. So boom, we do that. Next, I'm going to right click on it and create a solid and a camera. So now this places a nice solid object for us to focus on in 3D space. And it's great. So then the next steps become repeating this many, many times. So I grab my footage, grab my 3D camera tracker, and then just try to find different points that I think are nice and usable. So I'm going to grab maybe these 3 points over here, right click and create a solid, and then repeat. Grab your camera footage again, go over here, create a solid, and again repeat. We're going to go over here and create another solid. And these solids are going to allow us to track our footage in 3-dimensional space. And that will be great because once we have this 3-dimensional data, you can bring in any bit of your imagination. You can bring it into here and see it happen in real life. It's so fun. But I like to give myself as much data as possible to start with. So I'm just going through here and just finding different points and creating solids from those points. The important thing is that these solids are just kind of placeholders for you as a visual effects artist, as a creative, or as a production supervisor. It's just to give you an idea of where does the animation need to take place so that it's actually going to be in frame. And I like to try to create separate objects that establish what's always in frame, and just going here and creating some different solids, moving forward in time, creating another solid, moving forward in time, creating another solid here. And these solids are going to be 3-dimensional, well, they're 2-dimensional planes that live in 3-dimensional space. Sounds crazy, but it's basically rectangles that follow the ground. So I'm just going through and adding all the rectangles. Oh, look at that. It even tried to track the water. Water is very, very hard to track. So I might not want to use that data because it's going to be probably pretty bad. But just for fun, I'm going to create a solid and see if it actually does track the water. Oh, wow, it actually is tracking the water. That's a first. I've never had water successfully tracked. I think the difference here is there's so much high contrast in the ocean here that it's using that black and white area to track data, which I'm very surprised about. I almost never have water that's trackable like this. So that's cool. I might put something in the water now because that data is supported. Okay, and let's just keep going around the edges here. I'm just going to go ahead and create another solid there. My whole rule of thumb is I try to get enough coverage of my footage so that I know, generally speaking, where objects live so that I don't accidentally lose them in the frame and the footage. So to be honest, all you needed was the ground plane, and then you could bring it into Blender, you could bring it into Cinema4d, but I like to just, I don't know, I like to just do too much. So I just want to go over the top with my trackers so that it's really easy for me to establish my footage in my 3D animation program of choice, which is Cinema4d. But everything that you're seeing today, you can start in After Effects, and then you could bring it into Blender. You have to use a separate plugin to bring this data into Blender. I don't know what it's called because I don't use Blender enough or at all. But I like to just mention that because, you know, if the money of these 3D programs is a barrier, know that you can do a lot of the stuff nowadays with free programs like Blender. But all right, cool. So look at that. We have all these weird colorful X's and squares on our footage. And the way I like to test it is I like to turn off my footage and turn off my, my white background and see if these are enough points to get me the full shot in my brain. So I'm going to hit the space bar to play it back and see if we got the right amount of data. What I'm looking for right now is that I want all these planes to stay pretty much locked in place. We don't need it to be at full res, so actually I'm going to drop this to a quarter resolution so that it plays back faster. So I'm just looking around and it looks like it is pretty accurate. You know, we're getting some solid tracking data coming out of here, which I love, and that tracking data is looking pretty usable. I can kind of tell where objects are. I can tell where the floor is. Great. Yeah, this is looking pretty solid. Cool. Next phase I do is turn back on the footage and turn off my track points. And oh, that's weird. It's not turning off my tracking points. I don't know why that is. I think they'll go away after I hit play, maybe. There we go. Oh, then they come back on the pause. I don't know what's going on with that, so I'll leave it alone. But usually what I do next is I take the my planes that I've tracked successfully over here, and I like to just duplicate it. So I duplicate it, and I move them up into the Y-axis. The reason why I want to do this is I want to know what is the maximum height that my object should be. And by having the plane be pushed into the Y-axis, I can see quite clearly, you know, how far we're allowed to view stuff. So I can just do Control-D to duplicate a layer and move the plane, and then just add a rotation on the X-axis here, or on the Y-axis, whatever you feel is going to work best for you. And just by creating these little boxes in my scene, it's going to help me understand what is the volume that I'm allowed to work in. So I'm thinking of having like a big object in this space here, and just by having these planes here, it's just going to be so much easier for me to establish it. Like if we want it, we can create a doorway to another dimension that opens up right there, right? So you can do virtually anything with this data. Cool. Next, I'm going to create some barriers for me. So I'm just going to widen some of these planes and move them to the side. This is so that I know what areas I don't want to put objects in. So I'm just going to use these barriers to kind of help me understand no objects can go there. I mean, that's a little extreme. Maybe I'll reduce it a little bit. But in general, I want to create some barriers where the objects should not live. So I'm just going to duplicate this one, slide it over here to the side, and rotate it along the y-axis, shrink it down a little bit, widen it a little bit, and of course rotate it a little bit. Weird, the rotation is not moving in any of the axes? I don't know how to pronounce that word. It's not rotating how I want it to rotate. So I don't know what to do there. All right, just ignore that one. This one's a problem. I'm just going to leave it. It's another barrier for me. So, oh, weird. It's actually in the wrong dimension. Let me get rid of it, actually. Okay, cool. So we got some tracking points in here. It's dope. And if you're on Instagram right now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But I am streaming on Twitch right now, trying to help grow that Twitch stream. So if you want more details and better audio quality and a full screen look, then you want to join me on Twitch TV/Don Allen, and I'll see you there. Okay. So I'm just going to enlarge these planes here on the ground just to get a little bit more coverage of how large the floor space is. Cool. And I'm going to widen, oops, if I can select it, there we go. I'm going to widen this one as well, so it's a little bit closer to the width of our cliff edge here. Awesome. Same idea with this one, just going to make a nice large space. And same idea with this one, kind of create a little bit of a pathway for me to walk on with the geometry that we've tracked. Actually, there's not really geometry. There's not much geometry in our scene right now, so we don't have to worry about it that much. But what we have is all of the shot is now tracked and ready for us to start adding CGI elements and effects and all sorts of cool stuff. And that's what we're going to be doing next. Now that all of our data is tracked, we've established our ground planes. We know how large our environment is. We know where the floor is. Now we're at the now we move into the next phase. So I'm going to save this file into my same Twitch stream tutorials. We'll call this one. I'll just make a new folder for this. I'm going to call this beach cliff tracking. Cool. And we're going to save this into the beach cliff tracking as our tracked data. So I'll do 3D tracked data and save it. Cool. And then once that's saved, we now go up to File, Export, and choose Maxon Cinema4d Exporter. Whoa, we just got a new follower on Twitch. That's so cool that it notifies you like that. Thank you so much. How do I see who? Oh, is it DS Right Exo? Wow, that's so cool. I like Twitch. Thank you for joining me, and welcome to. I'm still trying to come up with a name for this. So the name that's in progress right now is Creativity with DA3. But I'm trying to create a name for our community. So if you have any suggestions for a community name, I'm very open to that right now. So welcome. All right, so this is the program called Adobe After Effects, and what we've done is we've 3D tracked our camera, and now that we've 3D tracked our camera, we added all of these solids in here, and these solids are just placeholders so that we know where the footage lives. In other words, if we turn off our footage and we hit play, we should be able to clearly understand what is the space that we're able to track our footage in. And this definitely is super usable for me to now animate comfortably and know that I'm gonna have all that flexibility of that space to create animations and know that they're all gonna work nicely in the frame, and all that stuff is all good. So let's bring it in. All right, so we've saved it, we've exported it as a Cinema4d file. Last thing I like to do is save it, and then I jump into the footage itself and I right click on it, I create a new composition. Actually, let me turn on that footage. We're going to right click on it and just create new composition here in After Effects by right clicking on it and choosing Pre-Compose. And then we're just going to dive into this composition, And the last thing we do inside of After Effects before we spend the rest of the time in Cinema 4D is we need to convert all of this video into a sequence of images. Because for some reason, Blender, Cinema 4D, Maya, Houdini, all these 3D programs, they don't actually like to read video. They hate video data. They can export it out beautifully, but reading video data for some reason is just slow and clunky and unfair and unusual. So what we do to bypass this problem is we convert every single frame of our video into an image as a JPEG or a PNG or a TIFF or an EXR, one of these file formats. So and then the 3D program is happy to read it. So I'm going to take this footage here. I'm going to go to File and go to Export, and I'm going to add it to the Adobe Media Encoder queue. Give it a second to load. I was exporting some other stuff earlier, and let's see what we got here. Just waiting for it. Oh, actually, is that it? Oh, it is it. Okay, my bad. So what we do is convert it to a PNG, and then it detects that you have a sequence of images, so it knows it's going to do a PNG sequence. If you want an even higher quality, you can export it as a TIFF sequence. It's just a lot of data, so I'm kind of hesitant to do that, but what the heck, let's do it. So you can do a TIFF sequence if you want the quality to be really high on your video footage. If you're going for a rush job and you're going to display it on a small screen and you don't think your viewers are going to notice the quality, when I'm in a rush, I do a JPEG sequence. It's a compressed file format. It just is so fast. So, you know, it's worthwhile. I guess maybe what we should do is we should export it as a JPEG. Hello, welcome. If you're here on Instagram, I'm actually streaming live on Twitch. So hello, Jenny, and hello, Kirk. It's good to see you again. We're live streaming onto Twitch right now. So it's got this nice microphone. We got full screen quality, and we got all the effects. We're doing visual effects. I'm tracking. We just tracked our footage in After Effects, and now we're going to bring that data into Cinema 4D so that we can add some really cool visual effects and objects. I want to do some dynamics tags and add some forces that will kind of fall onto the cliff face. So it'll be pretty cool. Hello, Chris. Welcome. We're actually streaming live on Twitch, trying to grow that Twitch stream. I'm experimenting. I'm thinking that Twitch might be a better spot. Hello, Filmbot, and hello, Abhishek. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Welcome. You should join me on Twitch if you want to see what we're doing. Okay, so if you're in a rush, I would encourage you to use a JPEG sequence when you're exporting your footage. If you have the spare time, use a TIFF sequence because these are super high quality, but they're slow. You know, it's almost like playing video back. So instead, I'm going to go with this fast data. We're going to go JPEG sequence, and then we're going to choose a folder for it. So I just like to make a folder inside of here, and I call this background reference or BG ref, background ref. And we're going to save our data here. And then we can hit play. And now After Effects is going to be converting every single one of our frames into a JPEG. Again, JPEG is a low quality format. The reason why we're doing this is I'm going to comp everything or composite everything later, which means you take all your layers and you bring it all together, you flatten out. I'm going to composite it in After Effects later. That's why I'm comfortable exporting my background as a JPEG. Whoa! We got a new follower on Twitch. Hello and welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. This is so cool. I'm new to Twitch, so it's exciting and fun. So I think that was it says Shredder Cheese 42 has followed. Thank you so much, Shredder Cheese 42, for following me on Twitch. And then Ara Cool has followed you a few seconds ago. Thank you so much. And Ray Rainier. I'm so terrible at reading and just reading comprehension. I read a lot of books, but my spelling is just horrible. Anywho, welcome. Welcome to the live stream. So we are converting all of our footage now into JPEGs. So exciting, right? It's not exciting, but it's part of the visual effects pipeline. Because I want to see my footage in Cinema 4D, I do need to feed it a format that Cinema 4D is happy with. And it's going to be a lot happier with a sequence of JPEGs than if I gave it a video. That's why we converted it. All right. All that's fun and dandy. Let's minimize After Effects. And I'll minimize media encoder. And now what we're going to do is open up our footage in Cinema4d. There it is. So I just click on that Cinema4d file, and let's see what we get here. Welcome to the show. I just upgraded to Cinema4d R23, and it's a really good version. Hello, folks on Instagram. I'm currently streaming onto Twitch TV. The link is right here on the bottom. You'll get the full quality screen as well as a nice microphone, and it's a whole community that we're trying to grow. So join me there. Cool. So look at this. We're inside of Cinema4d, and all of this is our tracked data. Do you see how this is super useful for us now? Now that we're in Cinema4d, we want this data in here so that we know how the camera is moving in three-dimensional space and where, what's going to be out of frame and what's going to be in frame. That's why I go ham with all the tracking markers. I want to add all these tracking markers because, now that we're in here, I want to focus on the 3D stuff. That's why we're here. So cool. We got our 3D stuff. Let me see if I can get the comments back on the screen. Thank you, Cool. If you have any questions, this is a safe place for creative nerds. So if you have a super nerdy and creative technical question, you are in a very safe community to ask. And if you have a new, fresh question, if you're new to this stuff and you want to get into these industries, that's also a safe spot to ask. So, yeah. And if you are a troll, I will think it's funny, most likely, but I'll probably ignore you entirely. So, anywho, we are streaming live onto Twitch TV. We got our data tracked into Cinema4d, and now the fun begins. What I use is a tool called Redshift. So I'm going to go to my Redshift. Actually, no. Before we jump into Redshift, let's just use the stuff that's native to Cinema4d. So I'm going to make a new material in here, and this material is just going to be for our background. So I'm going to turn off reflection, and I'm just going to turn on color, and we're going to load in a texture. Now, instead of loading in a single image, we're going to load in our tracked data. That's right. So we're going to go to our beach cliff data, go to our background reference, and all we need to do is grab the very first JPEG in our sequence of JPEG. So I'm just going to grab that first one and then hit open, and then hit no. And then what you do is you jump into your texture. We go to the animation tab and change this to calculate. When you hit the calculate button, it now knows and recognizes all of your frames of your footage, which is super dope. Ham sandwich says everywhere vlogs. That is a good way of wording it. You got to go ham sandwich on the tracking markers if you want to have good data to add animations to. If you don't go ham sandwich on your tracking markers, you're going to be unhappy with the results in 3D every time. So I like to go ham with the tracking markers, and then it's all fun. Okay, so we've loaded in our animation of our background plate, and then we have two more steps. We need to go to our viewport and turn on animation preview. And we need to go to our texture preview size and set this to no scaling. This way, it's not going to scale our JPEG at all. It's going to keep the JPEG at the highest quality resolution that we want, which is super dope. Oh, question from Cool on Twitch says, does Blender relate with Cinema4d? So Blender relates to Cinema4d in that they're both fully featured three-dimensional pipelines. So you can model in Blender, you can model in Cinema4d. You can texture in Blender, you can texture in Cinema4d. You can animate in Blender, you can animate in Cinema4d. So Blender and Cinema4d are both fully featured 3D animation tools. The difference is that Blender is free, like legitimately free, from $0 to $0. It is free all the way through. Cinema4d is not. I use Cinema4d because when I got into 3D animation around 2015, Blender was not at a good spot for me to want to learn it. It wasn't very friendly. If I was going to start over today, I would probably start off with Blender. But since I am super comfortable in Cinema4d, it's what I always go to. Okay, question from Chris Perdue says they're both 3D apps. Yes, they are. Yeah, Blender is $0 and Cinema4d is not $0 at all. I have friends at Maxon, and I've expressed my feelings towards them. But they also understand, like, they have a really good tool, and they need to make money. but but Blender's doing it. So if you want the free option, go to Blender, and if you want a not free option, go to Cinema4d. Okay, if you're joining me here on Instagram, you should join me on Twitch, because that's where we're getting the full screen and the nice microphone and everything. Okay, cool. So we got our texture in here. It's good to rename stuff, so I'm just going to rename this to background. And then we're going to go to our objects here and add a background object. And then we're going to drag our background as the background object. Look at that. And now we have our footage inside of Cinema4d. But remember, this is not a video footage. This is a sequence. Oh, Chris Perdue says that Blender is harder to learn. I did not know that. Maybe because it was too hard for me to learn to start with. I don't know that it's hard to learn. Yeah, so that's a good point. So Cinema4d is probably easier to learn, which is maybe why I got into it more than the other one. I love the feedback that we're getting here. I love this creative community. So if you have ideas on what we should call this creative community, I am all for it. So let me know. Also, where's everybody from? Where's everybody from here on Instagram? And where's everybody from here on Twitch? Let me know, because I want to wish you a proper hello and a welcome. Okay, so cool. We got our footage now playing inside of Cinema4d, and we have all these markers. Now take a look at this. This is our outliner. It's very similar to the Maya outliner. And this is the camera data that we tracked. So take a look at how cool this is. You can actually see the exact motion that I was moving my camera in 3D space. Isn't that cool? You can see every single frame. What I look for in this is that if you ever see it spike out at a random spot, that means it lost its position. But because this footage was so smooth and so clear, we never lost position, not even for a single frame, which means this is going to be really ideal footage to animate on. Just to help with my computer memory a little bit, I'm actually going to close After Effects, because I'm doing a lot of streaming stuff right now, and I think I might be stressing out my computer. So I'm going to close After Effects so that it's not running in the background. Hello from Milwaukee. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you, West. Hello, Chris Pardue from LA. It's a pleasure to have you, so welcome. We got lots of folks from all over the place, and this is a creative community. We're all about nerdy technology and future-proofing ourselves every day. We have a whole mindset and philosophy that it's important to never stop learning. It's important to keep making new skills for yourself to learn. It's important to keep growing, keep experimenting, keep collaborating, keep working, and take breaks and eat sometimes. Okay. Question from Ara Cool on Twitch says, so for beginners, Blender, but as far as navigating Blender, whatever you're explaining on Cinema correlates with Blender, right? All of the instructions you're giving would work in Blender, more or less. I have downloaded it already. Awesome. Wonderful question, Ara Cool. Yeah, so the principles that I'm doing right now are going to correlate very strongly to Blender. Even though we're using Cinema4d, the idea of tracking your data and keyframes and layers, all that stuff is going to be the same. The difference is on the how. Blender organizes files differently. It has a different name for layers. It has a different name for what a camera tracking data is. So the specifics are going to be different, but the principles that you're seeing right here are going to correlate very strongly to Blender if you're doing visual effects. Oh, DS Right XO says says they're from San Diego. Welcome from San Diego. It's a pleasure to have you. And Aracul says we should call it Dawn Television. That's kind of cool. I'm open to that. We'll be taking a vote on Instagram. I'll do a poll pretty soon to get a vote for what the community will be called, and I'll make like a logo for us, like a patch or something. It'll be fun. Chris Perdue says Blender can motion track. Okay, cool. It can do motion tracking natively, but is it faster or slower? Oh yeah, there's lots of YouTube tutorials, so definitely check them out. Okay. Next steps. So I had a couple of ideas in mind for effects that I wanted to do. Let me jump out of our camera real quick. It's going to look really weird for a second because we're seeing the background footage, but now we're seeing like a three-dimensional overlay of our footage. It's really weird. But I want to do a couple of things. One thing I want to do is I wanted to create a bunch of spheres that have, I want to create a bunch of spheres that have geometric, no, I want to create spheres that have magnetism. So I'm thinking of placing all of these spheres along this path and having all of them have magnetism so that they're all floating, they have anti-gravity. And then what I want to have happen is as the camera moves close, I want the camera to actually be a negative reactor and push objects away from it as they get closer to the field. I've never tried this live before. So actually I haven't even tried it on my own. So we'll see if this even works, but let's go. So first thing we need to do is create some geometry. I'm going to grab a sphere here. The sphere by default is really tiny for some reason. So let me jump into my camera and take a look at where the sphere is. Oh yeah, here's the sphere. And we're just going to enlarge this sphere. And I'm okay to keep the geometry pretty lightweight right now, which means not a lot of polygons. So yeah, you can see in green, these are all our polygons. And so what I'm going to do is just create a couple of spheres just to get some geometry going for us. So I'm going to copy this sphere. We're going to go to a top-down view. Whoa, we got a new follower on Twitch. That's so cool. I love the sound it makes. It's very addicting. I'm going to have a problem. Okay. Let me see. Who are you? Who is here? We have a person that says, Dub45 has followed. Welcome. Thank you, Dub, for the follow. I appreciate it. This is so cool. Okay. We got our shading. So what we have here is a top-down view of our scene. So if I play it, you can see the camera's moving here in 3D space. And if we grab our sphere, we can move our spheres around. So I'm just going to just duplicate them with Control D. Oh, that's not it. Control C, Control V to copy and paste. And I'm just putting these spheres along our path. It's going to look pretty silly right now, but this is called blocking out your animation or blocking out your process. It's really important to do this because before I make something look really pretty and cool and highly textured and involved and complicated and all those other adjectives, I want to make sure that it functionally works and the principles can happen. Because if the principles don't even work, then the whole thing won't look right and it will be felt. So I just made a ton of copies of this sphere, and now let's jump into our scene. Look at that. So we got all of these spheres, and they're all kind of in the way. So let me grab all of the spheres and reduce their radius. There we go. So now they're more or less all over the place. I also want to change the height of some of these spheres, so I'm just going to hold Shift and select some spheres and promote them to be taller or shorter. Just kind of moving these around indiscriminately. Cool. All right, let's just play that forward. All right, so it looks totally random, right? We're just going through. There's all these weird floating spheres in the camera, and this is fun and great. Oh, is there any questions? Discord for the community tool? Discord for the community tool. Oh, that's what I was hearing about. People create Discord channels, right, for people to dive into the community and like have a more integral connectedness. I'm conflicted about that because I use my Instagram DMs kind of to maintain the community. But I see what you mean. A Discord's different because you can upload all sorts of different media and chats can stay there. So I'll strongly consider it, or I'll probably take a vote online, and if the vote is positive, then we'll do it. Okay, so take a look. I have all these floating spheres, and these are very easily replaceable with any better geometry. If I want to put crystals in here, or if I want to put floating dragons, any kind of object I want to put, we can replace it later. So next step that we want to do here, which is super fun, is I'm going to hide all of my trackers here. So I'm just going to select all of these and just hide them, or just uncheck them from the render. So now we're just left with our spheres. Cool. I mean, even that looks kind of fun and interesting, but we can do more. We can do a lot more. So what I'm going to do next is turn on physics. So what we're going to do for that is just grab all of these spheres and turn on dynamics. So actually, we need a ground plane as well. So let me turn on one object to be the ground plane. And I'm just going to promote this to be a super giant ground plane. And I want to see through it, so I'm going to go to my X-ray options and turn on X-ray. There we go. Okay, so now we have like a ground plane and we have objects. So if we want to create some cool physics right off the bat, we can grab all of these spheres, right-click on them, and go to the simulation tags. And we can create them as, well, lots of different options. I don't want to go too crazy with this, but if we call them rigid bodies and hit play, they're now all going to fall. But they're all going to pass through my ground plane because the ground plane doesn't have physics yet. So I'm going to grab my ground plane and right-click on it and go to our simulation tags. And we want our ground to be the collider body. Collider bodies don't move, per se. I mean, you can animate a collider body, but what's cool is these are for ground planes. These are for walls. These are for the areas that you don't want to move. So if I have my ground plane set to a collider body, and I have all of these objects here set to rigid body, if we hit play, watch what happens. All of these objects are now going to collide with the floor. Pretty sweet, right? Look at that. I thought that was cool. Okay, so now we got some physics turned on. But gravity is pretty weak on this planet. Or at least what I have currently here. Because I don't think objects would float down that slowly, per se. I can't tell. If you're ever running into the problem where the frame rate's a little slow, what I like to do is just jump into my background object here and go back to that viewport and just change it to, just lower the res. So I'm going to set this to 1K. And it's just a little bit lighter on the machine. Or if you want to be really light on your machine, you can go to like 512. So that's really low. Oh, Aracool says, word. Yay. Thanks. All right, so look at that. So now we have physics turned on. So now when we play our footage, we can see all of the spheres are going to fall down. But I don't want them to fall down. I want gravity turned off. So to go to your gravity settings, I think it's Control G. Let me see. Nope. Okay, they changed it. Otherwise, you go to Edit, you go to Project Settings, and here under Dynamics, there's a section that says Gravity, and we can turn off gravity. So take a look. I'm just going to set this to 0 gravity. Now let's hit play, and you should see exactly what I'm seeing, which is now nothing is moving. It's kind of like what we had before. But what's different is all of these objects now have the capacity to have physics applied to them. So if I want to add an attractor or a magnet, I can now magnetize all of these spheres that they're floating in 3D space. Can't see what you're doing on your PC. Hello, Designs by Pre. That is by design. I'm currently trying to advertise streaming on Twitch TV. So I'm streaming on Twitch right now at the link at the bottom here. It's twitch.tv/DonAllenIII. You're going to get way better microphone quality and a full screen lookout. You can see every single button that I'm pressing. And you can see the chats on the feed from the folks here on Twitch. So if you want to join me there, you can. That would be pretty sweet. Okay. So we got some stuff. So one option I was thinking about in my head was to apply a sphere, another sphere. We're going to have so many spheres today. This sphere, I'm going to jump out of my camera real quick. I was thinking of applying this sphere onto my actual camera. So I'm going to take sphere 19. I'm going to call this Super Collider. We're going to take my Super Collider and make it a child of my camera tracker. What does that mean? Well, now when you play it, it's going to... Oh, weird. There's two different cameras. Wait a second. Okay, I'm not sure why there's two different cameras. Let me turn on X-ray real quick. So we're going to move this camera onto our... We're going to move this sphere onto our camera. I don't know why it's so hard to move it onto this camera here. Okay, there we go. So now our camera is attached to our sphere. And so now what you can see is happening is our sphere is now moving in three-dimensional space with the camera. So I think you know where this is going. What we're doing, I'll show you. I'll just show you. I'll flip it real quick for you. Sorry about that. So right now we have our, if we jump into our camera view, we're now moving our camera, but we're also moving a collider object. Do you see that? How the object's colliding with the different surfaces? And so now if we were to turn on collider body onto this super collider, now my camera will act like a force field. It will push stuff away. I'll show you what I mean. So I'll go to my super collider, we'll click on it, and we're going to set this to a simulation tag and create this as a collider body. And we'll go back to our first frame, and now let's play it through. Let's see what happens. So what I'm hoping is going to happen is now as the camera gets close, it should hopefully push objects away. Yay, it's working. Look at that. So now everything is getting pushed around because the sphere is colliding with those objects. All right. Pretty neat. Cool. All right, so that's kind of the principle. Now I might want to turn on some gravity. So let me go back to my gravity settings and just turn on maybe like 50% gravity. So that's at 500 centimeters. Yay! Thank you, R. Cool. I think it's pretty dope too. It's fun. All right, so cool. Now we have some gravity. So check this out. Now the objects start to fall down. Okay, they fell down really fast. But at least now stuff can be kind of kicked around a little bit. So if you had like a ball animation, you wanted a ball to be rolling, this would work. To see more clarity of what's happening to those spheres, we're going to make just a temporary texture that has colors on it so that you can just see it moving in 3D space. So I'm going to create a color here, go to texture, we'll create a new surface called tiles. And for fun, we're just going to tile it with no bevels and no grout. Cool, and I'll just set this to, I don't know, pink. And we'll set this one to blue. Great. I'm just going to apply this material to all of our objects, just so that you can see how they're spinning. So I grabbed all of that, and then I'm just going to apply it to there. Oh, darn it. Do I have to apply it to each one individually? I think I do. Let's see. There might be another alternative. If I grab all of these objects, right-click on it, and set this to a group, maybe I can apply this material to the whole group. Yay! Perfect. So now we'll be able to see the objects spinning. Take a look. So now you can see that the objects are on the ground, and weird, it actually doesn't look like they're spinning much. They are spinning though, but for some reason this texture might be so low quality. So let me turn up my viewport to no scaling. Oh darn, I think I have to apply it to each one, don't I? Yeah, I do. Okay. All right, we'll do it. I just have to hold control and drag it to each one of these individually. Very slow. Yeah, it is a problem. And again, these are like, I don't want to go too intense with all of this. I mean, it should have been better if I textured it first. Let's see. Hopefully it spins now. Please spin. Yay, cool. They're spinning. Look at that. So now this just gives us an idea of how the physics of our ball are going to now interact with the spheres in our place, which is super cool, right? Because now, as you can imagine, you can go into here and just like create all sorts of different animations now. And you can expect that they're going to interact with the environment. So I just wanted to show you that because I thought it was cool and fun. Let me go back to my gravity settings, and I'm going to lower the gravity a little bit so that stuff is mostly going to be in the air, but has a slight dip down. So we'll go to our project settings, and I'll set the downward force to just something really small, like 56 centimeters down. And let's jump out of our camera real quick. And you can see what's going to happen here. If the background is distracting, I'm going to turn off the background. So now you're just seeing our objects that can collide and our main collider object here. And so now I'll just hit play so you can see what's happening. So you can see that the sphere is now going to move, and you can see how it's just bumping right into it just bumps right into everything. Which is, you know, really cool. And you can see how now all of the balls are like rolling on the ground and stuff. How do you charge for lessons? Great question. Oh, we got a new follower on Twitch. Thank you, Design by Pre, for joining. Welcome. Thanks for following. Yeah, I teach stuff like this for free here on Instagram. So the question from Slime LYT, Slimy T. Question from Slimy T says, how do I charge for lessons? So I guess by day I work full time as a trainer at DreamWorks Animation. And so that kind of funds most of my life. And then these live tutorials are very fun for me to help give back to the community and help teach and train cool stuff to people that are, you know, interested. But believe it or not, I actually get a lot of freelance work from these live streams. In the DMs, a lot of my clients found me through live streams, and that's where I get a lot of my work from. So a lot of that's currently how I've been able to justify providing so much of my content for free, is because I'm getting paid from clients who need this stuff professionally and don't have the time to learn it or the interest. They just want it done. They need it for their music video. Like, for example, I did the motion capture for Lil Nas's music video. All those little dancing robots in Panini, that was me. I did all their motion capture, and and so like, you get paid for projects, and then I can justify teaching for free, for the most part. That being said, I am working on a full course that takes you through a lot of stuff, and I'm going to be sending out and giving out a ton of my project files. And since that's a little different than my live content, where I don't really give you many assets that you can use for your stuff, my own project files, I will be charging money for that course. And it's going to cost about as much as a semester of a community college, because I'm going to be making eventually about 14 hours worth of content, giving up tons of project files and my best secrets for this stuff. But yeah, that's going to happen. That's going to happen in the near future. All right. Oh, no, you have a bad connection. That's because my internet is terrible, and I apologize for that. So I'm currently live streaming on the Instagram and Twitch, which is causing my internet bandwidth to scream at me. So eventually I might end up just switching to one of these platforms entirely. But for now, I'm just to try to advertise Twitch, I'm using a platform that I do have a lot of reach in, which is Instagram, to try to grow in another platform. Oh, wow, we got a bunch of questions and comments on Twitch. Says, this is really cool. Yay, thank you so much, DS Right Exo. I'm happy you think this is cool. I also think it's very cool, too. Pugmat15 says, back Don, just submit the topic in research paper. Oh, congrats on your research paper. Hopefully that went well, and you're happy with the results that you get for the grade. Dub45 says, sign me up. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be sponsored by Mograph.com. So I'm building out a full course on how to. It's gonna be like how to do augmented reality, and how to get not just how to do it, how to get work in augmented reality. How do you get clients that will pay you money to make a face filter? How do you do that? I've spent over a year or two in the AR space now, doing it kind of like all the time, and I've learned these things, and I'm going to be sharing all those business secrets related to the 3D space, as well as all the 3D techniques involved as a course, because that's something that I wish I could have had, and it's something I think I could do really well, and that's also something I feel comfortable charging money for, because if you go through that course, my expectation is that you'll have a reel afterwards, an augmented reality reel that you can use to get real paid work. So that's going to be a paid course. I haven't decided the cost of it yet, but that's going to be a thing. It's going to be on Mograph.com. and it will be really fun. But to help me prepare for that course, I do all these live streams to get more comfortable answering the questions that people have and getting comfortable talking on camera with a nice audio setup and, you know, just being available to solve problems on the fly. Let me save the Cinema4d file in case it crashes. It happens too much. Let me just save it real quick. Okay, another question on Twitch we have says, Aracool says, that didn't take so long to create either on the collider in the object in motion that's set in motion, right? Yeah, this stuff is pretty fast. I think we're about an hour in on our Twitch stream and an hour in on the Instagram stream, and we already have our data tracked in 3D space. We have actual physics applied to our 3D object. This is all pretty cool, right? But guess what? It gets even cooler. Oh, thank you, Pug, for sharing mograph.com. This stream is not sponsored by them yet, but I am going to be sponsored by them when we do the course. But this one's, I did not tell them I was going to advertise that here. So if you're seeing that, my friends at mograph.com, if you're seeing this right now, yeah, I am verbally agreeing to do the project that we're working on. Okay. Another question from Aracool says, oh, sign me up. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll let everybody know when the course is up. I still have to make it, but it's going to happen in steps. PugMat15 says, you know, Pug will dawn if he will learn and stuff. Oh, cool. Yeah, you'll definitely learn. I mean, the whole thing is like, I want it to actually be real. You know, I have a lot of frustrations with the current state of systemic educational systems. I'm not totally thrilled with the way they work. They teach you skills that you don't really need to have, and then you have all this knowledge of stuff that doesn't actually equate to real world problems or real life things that you deal with on your day-to-day. And just, I don't know, I don't like the idea of paying money for school when you're not gonna, when the skills don't translate to improving your life. I hate that. So I'm building a course to do the opposite of that. Teach you skills that I've used to get me actual work doing something I enjoy doing every day. So that's, in my mind, that's worth money. What's not worth money is paying to learn something that's irrelevant or worse, like obsolete. So I'm against that. Okay, question here on Instagram says, how much do you charge for private lessons? Wonderful question. A lot. I'm not going to announce that number here. Private lessons is a whole nother category for me. Because if you think you're getting value out of this right now, imagine if you could have all of your individual questions answered and solved for in real time. It's a lot. I'm not sharing the price right here, but I'm an expensive person. And to justify it, I give away almost everything for free. All this stuff, you can do it yourself for free. There's so many tutorials. So, yeah, if you want it, if you want me to do it, you know, custom and on your time, on your schedule, then you got to pay the money. Okay. Slimy T says, I'm in the beginning stages of Cinema4d. Oh, that's awesome. Well, welcome. Welcome to the program. It's a great tool, right? All right, so let's do some new animations. Something I haven't done in a while in augmented reality, but something that really, it jives with people because it's a really cool effect. Here goes. We're going to switch to our camera. And let me turn on X-ray mode on this object so we can see through it. Where's the X-ray? X-ray mode enabled. There we go. So we can see through the object. And what we're going to do now is create a animation path for another object to follow. So take a look at this. We're going to go to our top-down view of our scene. And we're going to turn on all of our reference objects from before. Excuse me. That's all this colorful stuff here. I'm going to turn off my ground plane visibility. Okay, so we got a top-down view. We see all the objects in our scene. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the Spline Tool, which is basically a three-dimensional pen tool. And we're going to go to the very beginning and create a spline. And then I'm just going to weave this spline in and out of our scene here. Oops. And then we're going to end that spline. Oops, trying to move my Why can't I pan? There we go. We're going to end that spline just off into the ocean here. Ooh, I don't like that transition. Let me try that again. Click, transition. There we go. Okay, so we got this spline here. And you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing with this spline? What's your end goal? Well, what I'm thinking is I want to have a tube that animates on that spline. So like, I don't know, some kind of thing that, wow, we got a new follower on Twitch. Thank you, Gianni Vincent. Gianni Vincent. Thank you. I can't read, but I can animate. So it's like the same thing. Okay. Question from Gian says, your time is value. Exactly. So I charge for time. A lot. Another question says, I appreciate you, man. I also am beginning Cinema4d. Oh, my God. Well, welcome. Welcome to the beginning of Cinema4d. I think I can definitely help. This is not so much a basics tutorial. This is more advanced, certainly, but I think it can help you get some principles in mind. All right, so we have physics enabled, so stuff can bounce around. Oops, we have the floor turned off, so it's just going to pass through the ground. Let me turn the floor back on. There we go. So now we have some physics. This is some cool stuff. Some objects can bounce and interact with the ground now. Yay, I love it. And then we're going to take this, this spline that we just illustrated here, and we're going to sweep a circle along the spline. Oh, from your IG. Welcome. Gets me in the headspace. Yay, that's perfect. So I'm going to show you a cool technique that you can apply to a basic but really cool effect inside of Cinema4d. So here's how it works. You first draw a spline. That's what this little pen tool is. It's basically a pen tool, but it's a three-dimensional pen tool. See that? So you can actually move the points of the pen in 3D space, but it's just a pen tool. Okay, so you got a pen, great. Now you go into here and we can add a circle. If you don't see it, we can hit S to find it. It's kind of hard to see. I got a lot of stuff on the screen here. Let me turn off the background real quick. Okay, so we have a circle. Great. And the circle is really tiny diameter, so I'm going to go to my circle and increase the diameter, the radius. Bloop. Cool. So you got a spline, right? And we have a spline and we have a circle. All you need to do now is add a sweep. Check it out. We go to the top here. There's a button in here called sweep. There it is. It's under the green buttons. You go to sweep. And what you want to do is you want to sweep the circle along the spline. So by dragging your circle and your spline as the children objects of the sweep, it gives you this effect. Look at that. Now we have a weird spline that follows our path. And you can still animate it. So you can animate it like a little tube. And so what I do is I just go through here and I find the relevant points that I want to move. And I'm just going to grab those points and move them around in 3D space. Cool. All right, so we got this cool zigzag kind of shape going for us. But it gets even cooler. You can animate the sweep. So when I grab my sweep object, oh, sorry, we got some more questions in the comments here. By the way, guys, Don said this to me and at everyone. He doesn't work free, so no freebies. Wonderful question, Pug. I don't work for free often. I do work for free sometimes when there's mutual value exchange. Free is a weird word to me. Free assumes that there's no value exchange. You're just doing it pro bono. I like to work for exchanged value. And if the value exchange is not clear, then I'm not working on that thing at all. Okay, so here's the sweep, and look at this. You have the end scale. Not end scale, wrong one. I meant to do end growth. So you can animate the path with the start or the end growth. So you can use this to create really cool like animations that are like very lively and whatnot. You can use this for two-dimensional motion graphics if you wanted to save it out, some cool shapes. But what I want to do is just animate that over time so that it kind of follows my camera. So I'm going to go to the start frame and go to my end growth and set the end growth to 0% and set a keyframe. Then we're going to go to the last keyframe and set it to 100% and put a keyframe. Great, so now we have this. Now let's switch into our camera view and take a look at what's happening. I'm going to hit play. And let's see what happens. Waiting for that line to grow. I don't see it yet, but it should appear in a moment. There it is. So now the line's going to grow in from the top of the frame here. Where is it? Let me pause that. Oh wow, it's just above our frame the entire time. So we need to get a little bit closer to the camera. Okay, question from PugMat15 on Twitch says, Cinema4d is not free, by the way, guys. It's a membership base. Yeah, it is. It's a subscription. Pug says, if you guys try something similar, Blender is free. Yep, it's a good one to start with if you're trying to go for free. PugMat15, that's what I'm rolling with currently. Oh, yeah, no worries, Pug. Okay. So I think I moved my object too high off the ground, because you can see that the green here is the camera, and then up here is this spline that we can't see. So I'm going to grab the whole spline and just move its points down so that they're a little bit closer to the spheres, and this will help us to, I don't know, have maybe a cool effect. We'll see. Okay, so now it should be a lot more visible because it's lower. So I'm going to jump back into our camera. And let's see. Oh yeah, now we can totally see the path of this thing grow over time, which is great. Oh yeah, look at that. So you get the path growing. But the thing is, this is going to be out of frame because I filmed this vertically. So I'm going to set the camera to be about the width that it's going to actually be. And now you can see that we get this really cool tube animation that happens periodically. And I actually really like this. Let's turn back on our footage. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now we can just play it back and see what we get. A lot of commotion going on screen here. Got ball bouncing, collisions. And then this weird shape. I kind of need more of a direction now. You can even turn on collision data onto this object if you wanted to be like a giant pushing popsicle, a push pop. So what do I mean by the push pop? Well, what I mean is we can have the growth of the line push the geometry out of the way. So if we go to our sweep object, we right click on it and go to our simulation tags, we can add a collider body to this. And then we change the collision type to I think it has to be not a static mesh. We have to change it to a motion mesh. As a heads up, if you use a moving mesh collider object, it's a very heavy calculation, so it slows everything down. So before you do it, I like to hit save because I've found that it crashes it a lot. So I'm gonna set the shape to moving mesh and rewind it. And now watch what happens. Actually, let me turn off my other collider real quick. So now it should push the balls around. There you go. So look at that. So now this object is going to push the spheres out of the way. Isn't that cool? I don't know why that sphere was invincible for whatever reason, but the other ones it seems to be working fine with. Oh, because it hit the ground already. Interesting. Question from PugMat15 says, thank you for teaching me rotoscoping a few days ago, Don, because I'm guessing you're going to use it maybe, right? Because plus I'm here learning new terminology to try to get understanding. Sure. Yeah, just to let you know, rotoscoping, it will be spelled R-O-T-O, scoping, S-O-C-O-P-I-N-G. If you wanted to Google it, it's called rotoscoping. I don't even know what it stands for verbatim, but in principle, it's how you cut out stuff from your footage. All right, so let's go back to our shot here. We have these spheres falling down. I'm going to jump back into our camera. And then what we're going to see is the spheres are going to get pushed around by the cylinder here that's kind of following our sweeping path. Now keep in mind, we could do so much with this geometry, because once your geometry's in here, hold on, I don't know why, but these two spheres are invincible for some reason. It's not registering that these are, oh, it crashed. Something crashed. Okay. Yeah, I can't click things. Oh, wait, now I can. What is going on? So, I'm confused here. Every object has a collider on it, so I don't know why this one is ignoring collisions. Maybe I'll change it to a automatic and see if that, I don't know, see if that has any influence on it. Pug says, plus don't forget to save after so you don't lose your work, by the way. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I'll save for sure. Okay, cool. So it looks like it's moving those ones correctly, and then just doesn't want to move that sphere. All right, I don't know what this sphere thinks it's doing, but it has a mind of its own, so I'm actually just going to delete it. And that other sphere over here also has a mind of its own. I'm going to delete it because it's not following the laws of physics. Okay. Cool, and let's save our work. So now that we've kind of gotten these principles out of the way, the next thing we want to do is start thinking about actually rendering this. How to make this look not like a bunch of geometry on your screen, but how do you give this some like really cool textures and high quality, you know, materials and shadows and lighting. So let's do that. Wait, there was something else I wanted to do though. Oh, got it. What I was thinking of doing is animating the actually, let's turn back on our collider body, our super collider body. So now this is going to collide with all the objects in camera here. There we go. So it's gonna, the camera is like bumping into everything as you can see it pushing through. And yep, our other object is also going to interact with everything. So I'm just trying to add more dynamics to our scene because I think it's going to look really cool when we add refraction to all these objects. It's going to be really magical and special. Oh yeah, this is looking solid. Cool, and it gets all the way through to the end. So here's a pro tip that took me too many years to learn, and it will save you so much time. Here's how you do it. One thing is simulation data is normally pretty heavy. So having to resimulate all the time is very intense on your computer. It's going to actually cost you a bigger electric bill because your computer has to keep rendering out data, and it needs a lot of power to do that. And it's also going to just eat up a lot of your computer time and your own human energy. So what I like to do once I'm happy with my physics simulation is you can do this process called bake. You can bake your physics simulation so that it's no longer calculating physics, but rather just playing back position, rotation, mostly position and rotational data. So we're at a spot now where I'm happy with the physics of my simulation. So I'm just going to turn off all the ground planes in here, except this one. We do want to keep this ground plane turned on. And what we're going to do, oh, actually I want to change one thing on it before we bake our data down. I'm going to change the shape of this to be to be a static mesh, because that way objects can maybe fall off the cliff. But then I'll have to put them in water. No, we're not doing that. Okay, undo. I'm not doing water simulations today. That's going to take too long. But what we can do is we can bake out all that animation where these balls were falling and then being pushed away and whatnot. But do we want to do spheres? Yeah, we'll do spheres because we can make these like little planets if we wanted. We can make them glass balls. We can make them like CRISPR DNA strands, whatever we want. So what I'm going to do is go to our animation setup, go to animation, and this is all your keyframes of everything. And if you want to bake your physics, what you can do is grab all of your objects that need to have baking done to them. And I'm kind of forgetting the step. Let me see it. I think you right click on it, and then there should be something that says bake all. There it is. So they have a couple options. They have bake as a limbic. I don't want that one. I just want to bake it. Let me see. It might be an animation tag. No, I don't see it there. Maybe a simulation tag. Nope. Rigging, rendering. Nope. Which one of these is the baking tag? Gotta find it. That's for baking materials, but I want to bake the data of these things, the physics, the dynamics. Okay, so since I'm struggling to find it, what I'll do is just play it back and see if the animation's working properly. Yeah, I think it's looking good. Oh, whoa, we got a new follower here on Twitch. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, Universe. Oh, wow, welcome. Welcome to the stream. We are, just trying to stream on other platforms, practicing some different techniques. And what we're doing is to try to be a better resource for teaching. Going full screen so you can see all the little things I'm clicking, the why we're clicking it, the how we're clicking it, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so what we're trying to do right now is I'm trying to bake all of my physics data so that I don't have to keep recalculating it every time I play it back because it's taking too long. But I'm just forgetting where that option was. And I think I might find it. Pug says, Don, not trying to sound weird right now. Did you forget to eat dinner again? You know me well. I did forget to eat dinner again, but not totally. I was gonna eat soon. I will. I got it. I have some food. I will eat. I promise. I'm fasting. I'm fasting during my live streams. Okay, so what was I saying? All right, so we're gonna save this here. And what we're going to do is we want to bake our animation. So I think under the Functions tool, there's a section here called Bake Objects. So you can click on it. And you can choose what type of data you want to bake. You can choose the start frame and the end frame. And what I want to bake is all parameters, which is going to cover position, scale, rotation, and any point level animation, just everything. But know that the first time you bake, it's a little heavy. But then after you bake, it's all fast. It plays back in real time because it doesn't have to recalculate anymore. So I'm going to hit OK. Wow, that baking's actually really fast. That's way faster than I was expecting. I don't think it's going to work. let me see what's going to happen here. It looks like it's working. Let me see if it works with this one. Wow. Looks like everything's working. So if this is true, this means that you can delete all of the physics tags. So these are all my simulation tags. I can delete all of these. I don't know if it's going to work. Let's see. If it works, what we should expect to happen is it's going to play back in real time without having any physics tags because we've hopefully baked all of the physics onto our timeline. Ah, darn it, it didn't work. Okay, so it didn't bake. Drats. Okay, let me undo that. Control Z, 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 Control Z. Control Z. Okay. Is physics back on? Yes, physics is on. I see the objects slightly falling. Oh, but they're not colliding with my main sphere. Oh, let's do Control Z. There we go. Let's try this all again. Okay, looks like it's working out a bit better now. In front of me and a few others. Don, I'm getting you, bro, from the last stream on Twitch. You said, I swear I'll eat. Oh, no. Well, I did eat. I eat off camera. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why you don't see the eating happening. But I appreciate you looking out. All right, so I'm trying to, I don't know how to bake this down. Let me see. We got all these objects in here. That's the sweep. How do I see everything? Let's go to view. Let's unfold everything. So this is all parameters. This is my sphere. Is this everything? This does not look like everything that's in the scene. Where is my null object, for example? Why isn't that appearing? Okay, I need to Google something real quick. So let me, whoa, super meta, looking at my stream while on the stream. Let me just see how to bake potatoes. No. How to bake, like normal humans, how to bake food. I'm trying to bake physics data in a cloud. What am I trying to do? How to bake physics in C4D. And by the way, you can bake animation in Blender. Okay, it's called dynamics. I just need to see someone do it real quick.
Really useful to
skip.
These clone objects, they do two ways to do this. You can bake individual things.
How?
And go into cache and click bake object.
Oh, you add.
So you'll see if we scrub through, that falls in real time when the other thing.
What? Okay. So it looks like what they did was they added it as I don't want to do it per tag though. That's absurd. That person went onto here and went to cache, and then they chose bake object. Let's see what happens if we do bake all. I wonder if that was just for that one though. Oh, there it goes. Yay, that did bake everything. Great. Let me do that to this one as well. Let me bake that one. It didn't change, so I don't know if that one worked. Okay, I think it might have worked. So if it did, we should be able to play back in real time now. Huh, that's funny. It looks like it's not working again. You are hungry, Don. See, I got you. That's true. Yes, I am unfortunately limited to this human body, this fleshy, needy, energy-consuming body. So unfortunately, I do need to eat. But I will eat off camera. Okay. This should be baked. I don't know what's going on. Let me look at the internet again.
It doesn't. But if you click Control D, it'll bring you to the project settings, and you can cache the whole scene.
That's what
so
I
if
want.
you click bake, you'll see when you're scrubbing real time, everything falls.
That's exactly what I want. So it's under the project settings. Got it. All right, let's undo everything. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Undo, 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 undo. Oh no, looks like we broke all of our physics forms. Yeah, all of them are not happy with me. I see they all have. Oh no, I think I made a big mistake. All right, let's revert to a previous version. Hopefully before we did, yeah, okay, cool. This one's before we did that last step. Whew, thank goodness we saved. That would have been really unfortunate. Okay, now what we're gonna do is try that advice that I just saw on Google. And that is to go to the project settings and go to dynamics and choose cache. And then hopefully this can back the entire thing as, hopefully we can bake the whole thing. Let's see. Bake. Please work, please work. Okay, that's looking pretty fast. That's looking really fast. Which is great. This is great news. I think it's working. Cool. Look at that. All the data is baked. So instead of baking per object, the lesson here is you need to bake on the whole project. And that's going to save all of the physics simulations for the whole scene into one spot. So that was the secret. So baked potato will haunt me forever, says Pugmac Convento. Yeah, I am getting hungry. This is all this food talk. It's working. It's working. Okay, so look at that. We got, yeah. And then just to help with my own brain, I like to just collapse this so I know exactly how much is actually going to be on screen and what stuff is not going to be on screen. And there's some other problems because like this plane wasn't perfectly flat, so these might not ever look correct. But at least you learned the principles. Okay. So look at that. This is how you know it works, because I can scrub the timeline now and it doesn't have to recalculate. So it's all just playing back position, scales, and rotations, which is a much lighter comp. So that means we can actually go to our ground plane, and if this works, you can actually just delete your ground plane. You don't need a floor. You shouldn't need a floor when you have your physics baked. So moment of truth, I turned off the floor. Does it work? And that is a strong yes. It is still colliding with the floor despite there not being a floor object. So baking it all from the top was the secret. Okay. Now let's make this look prettier, because this is, now that the geometry works, this is, we've finished blocking, we've baked some of our physics. Now I want to make stuff cool with textures. I want to make things look pretty. So I use a tool called Redshift. It is a render engine. The equivalent for Blender is their render engine is called Cycles. So we're going to go to Redshift Render View, and I'm going to attach this next to my scene here. Oh, I already had it open. I didn't realize I had there's two versions of it now. Okay, whatever. I'll just use this one. And with Redshift, what we can do, let me set this to our standard. Oh, we lost it. Let's bring back Redshift. Redshift, Render View, and then we'll attach this. So Redshift is a tool that I like to use to preview in real time the final quality that you're going to get once it's rendered. This tool will go through and render everything in real time, and it does it with like lighting and effects and all sorts of cool stuff. So it's a magical tool. To give you some examples of where Redshift is used, a lot of intros for TV shows that are animated. Like, have any of you watched the show Westworld? If any of you have seen the show Westworld, they used Redshift as the render engine. So it's the same. I use the same engine that HBO uses. Yeah, because it's the same tool. Okay, so here it is. We got Redshift here, and what we need to do is hit the play button. And you're going to see some stuff appear, and some stuff's not going to appear at all. So first off, the first thing that doesn't appear is our super collider. I'm going to delete our super collider. We don't need it anymore because our physics is baked in there, so it doesn't rely on physics calculations anymore. Next, we're going to delete all of these materials, because these are materials that work in Cinema4d, but they don't work nicely in Redshift. So I'm going to delete all materials. So we're just left with a bunch of gray, boring geometry. For now we're going to make it exciting. Here we go. First thing we're going to do is we want to add our background into Redshift, because this background is only supported in our, whatever you call it here. It's only supported in Cinema4d, but I want this to be supported in real time. So what I do is we go to the bottom here and click on Create a new Redshift Material. So I'm going to choose Redshift, no, I lied. I'm going to choose a Redshift environment. Then we're going to double click on that Redshift environment, or just jump into its shader settings in here. And under the Redshift environment, we can give it the background that we want to feed it. So I'm going to go to Animation, or turn on Image, and we're going to give it the path to our image sequence that we made earlier. Same idea, you just have to grab the first one in the sequence, and then we can hit Open. And I'll hit No. Then we go to the Animation tab, and we change this from mode off, we turn it to simple, and we hit Detect Frames. And this will calculate all of the frames in our footage. Pretty cool so far, but we're not seeing anything. That's because none of these have a Redshift material. So let's make one. I'm going to click on the Create tab here and go to our material setting here. Oh, question from Slimy T says, I sent you a DM. Please check it out when you can. Oh, let's see. Should I check it after the stream or during the stream? I might check it after, because I'm on a flow right now. I can't wait. Let me check. You sent me a DM. Let me check the DMs. Make sure it's not a question pertaining to what we're doing here. Hi, Don. I'm contacting you today to see how much you charge for private lessons. Excellent. I will follow up with you in detail on that at a different time. Okay. Cool. Continuing on with the free public lesson. What we're going to do next is I want to get this materials in here, and I want to create some cool refraction and cool stuff like that. So with that set up in here, we're going to go to create a new... Oh, is it crashing? Please don't crash on me right here. I'm scared it's going to crash. I'm going to hit save. Please save, please save, please save. Okay, it's saved. So what we're going to do is go to create materials and create a new Redshift material. And we're going to apply this Redshift material onto all of our objects. It's going to look almost the same, but I pinky promise it's going to be different. So it's a little manual, but we're just going to have to hold control and just drag it onto all of these. I don't want to duplicate the materials. I just want to hold control, drag it, hold control, hold control, hold control. I'm applying it to all of these spheres. Okay, so now everything has a Redshift material, which is great because now this means we can start lighting our scene and having that data pass through it. So I'm going to go to our Redshift environment that we made a moment ago, although I'm not seeing it for some reason. That's weird. Where's our Redshift environment? Let me try that again. Let's go Redshift. No, it should be right here. Oh, because it's turned off. So I'm going to go to my Redshift environment and enable the backplate. This way we'll be able to start seeing our footage appear in the real-time engine. I don't see it yet. Don't know what step I'm missing here. Oh, because it doesn't see any data. That would do it. So I'm going to grab my JPEG again. Hit no on there. Go to the animation. Set this to simple. Detect all my frames. And then backplate. I don't know why we're not seeing this. We should be able to see this. Okay, so for whatever reason, I'm struggling right now. So I'm going to try to apply it to my background object in here. Looks like it's rendering something. What am I doing wrong? Let me go Redshift. Redshift. Object, Redshift environment. Okay, that's it. Sorry. I always get mixed up with Redshift Material and Redshift environment. So we got Redshift environment. This is where we apply, I hope. This is, nope, that's not where we apply it. I'm all over the place. Let's go to Redshift, Objects. What am I wanting here? Oh, it's a light. We want a light. We bring in a dome light. Thank you. Okay, cool. Whew, that was freaking me out. I was like, is this going to break? All right, so now look at that. Now we have actual light that's being cascaded into our scene, and our objects have light on them. Pretty sweet. We can get reflections. So we're going to go to the dome light, and first thing we're going to change is the material. We're going to use the entire environment here to cascade light onto our scene. I'm going to go to the animation tag here and set this to simple and calculate all of our frames. Now look at this. Now we have actual light data from our real world environment is now being added into our scene. Now you're going to see some blaring issues. One is that we're getting this distortion because it's applying our video onto the inside of a sphere. Laugh my A off. Haha, I get that way too. Yes, we all do. So we're going to go to our backplate, and if we turn on backplate and give it a path to our backplate that we like, and hit no on that, now we have everything. We got the lighting from the real world environment plus the backplate of our Jpeg sequence. Super sweet. Next, we start playing with more settings. So I'm going to go to my dome light and hit R to bring up our rotations. I'm going to rotate my light around so that I get the reflections that I desire. I'm just kind of eyeballing it here. It doesn't have to, I mean, if you want to be like really good, you'll do this correctly with measurements, but I'm okay with just eyeballing it. I think that'll be fine. Okay, cool. So now we're getting like, you see it yourself. We're getting real world lighting into our scenes. We have physics added into our shot, and we can even play it back in here to a desired location. So I'm going to look for when that line comes in here. And then we can do our beauty shot, and now we have that all coming together. Super sweet. Now let's make that Redshift material something to be proud of. So we're going to go into that Redshift material, and we can play with everything in here. So it looks pretty scary, but in general, you start off with inputs. These are what you input into your scene, and then you're going to get an output. This is what we're going to see in the render engine. So you can change and modify all your inputs, but at the end of the day, you want a single output, because that's what you want, a single texture at the end of your day. So we're going to go to our Redshift material, and just to start off with what it's got in here. So I'm going to go to my base properties. We have the color. You can go in here and you can just grab a color. If I wanted to grab a pink, you can hit OK. There you have it. Now you have pink spheres. Next, I'm going to go to reflections. You can change the roughness. The roughness is going to scatter light on your material. So yeah, if you have a really rough material, light's going to scatter on it. And if it's a really shiny material, light's going to not scatter. So you can make stuff more matted, like plastic, or more metallic by playing with the roughness. Then you have anisotropy. I can't pronounce that word. Anisotropicity. This is a way that light interacts with metallic objects. I don't really understand it. I just play with the sliders until it looks pretty. Okay, and then we have this other factor called IOR. Stands for internal something reflections. It makes it adds like just another layer of detail to your model. The IOR ratio. I'm not going to act like I know this. I don't know what this does. All I know is it makes stuff look really cool. So you can play with the IOR if you want more of a chrome ball look, or so it's like super reflective, or you can reduce it to get like a mixture of your colors plus the chrome ball look. Next thing, we have a section here called refraction. Refraction is how light bends. So if you turn up your refraction, you're going to allow light to enter into your model and pass through it. So it's more clear if I turn off our roughness. You can see that we're actually seeing the reflection of other objects in our scene now. And this works in animation, so I can hit the play button and we can see our scene animate. Ooh, I'm noticing that the back plate is not moving. Let me go to fix that. I'm going to go to our dome light, go to our back plate, and make sure that animation preview is turned on. Pug says, that word you said, Don, is weird. I haven't that word before. By the way, put it in the chat and I will look up the meaning. Was the word is it that word? I'll put it here. I don't know what it means either. So anisotropy. I don't know, PHY. And that's a material. Okay, so if you want to look that up, Pug, that would be awesome. I'm really curious what the that word. Anisotropy material. What does that even mean? I use it all the time, but don't even know. So there you go. So refraction's turned on now. So now light is going to pass through our object. So now it's looking like a liquid water. And this is a really cool tool because now you can add like reflection color. So if I wanted all the reflections in here to have a blue tint, that can make like for a really cool synthwave approach. We can add some roughness so that now that light passes through it, but then it gets scattered before it leaves. But keep in mind, the more refraction that you add and the more just the more of the stuff that you're adding that I'm showing you here, it increases the render time because it's just more math that your program's going to have to do. So also what's cool is every material on Earth has its own refraction number. So you can look up the refraction index of water and place that in here, and then it will actually bend light the way that water bends. I think water is around 1.14 is its refraction index, but you can look it up. So refraction index is another good one. You can look up refraction index, and if you're like, I want this to for sure be the consistency of milk, milk has a refraction index. I want this to be the consistency of ruby, that has a refraction index. Every material does. So I can just play around with this and, you know, just have some fun. Great. So now we're getting an idea of what this is going to look like. We can go to different frames. For some reason, I can't get this background to play in here. Let me see what's going on with that. So that's background. Let me turn off this background here. So now we're just looking at our dome light. We have backplate enabled, but does it allow animation? Oh, there it is. Animation was turned off. Let me turn that on to simple and detect our frames. There we go. Cool. So now the background's going to animate. Oh, that looks so much better. So now these are like water balls. Water ball. I don't know what we're doing, but it looks cool, kind of. Yeah. Oh, question from Pug. Matt says, anisotropic materials are materials whose properties are directionally dependent. Unlike isotropic materials that have material properties identical in all directions, anisotropic materials properties such as a young modules change with direction along the object. Wow, that actually makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you. Thank you so much for looking that up, Pug. So when you, I'm trying to think of an example. If you've ever seen like a piece of metal and you've seen light shine on it in real life, anisotropic materials, according to this definition, mean that the light can bend off of it in a different direction than it came in. So that creates a very specific look on how light interacts with the object. It's so cool, man. I love this stuff, if you couldn't tell. All right, so I'm going to go to my refraction weight and reduce it. So if you wanted to have a crystal ball, you can have it be all the way, entirely reflective like this. Or if you want it to be more matted, you can as well. I'm going to play with the reflection roughness a little bit. Maybe lower that. Maybe go into our, wateriness here. We also have presets. They actually have a preset for water, which is so cool. They have a preset for tinted glass. They have a preset for platinum and a preset for silver. So these are also great ways inside of Substance Painter inside of Cinema4d Redshift to start. Here's glass. That's really cool. Here's plastic and jade crystal and lead. So you can see these are, really cool. Lots of different ways of interpreting light to make all your materials. I don't know which one I like the most. Water was pretty close for me. I did kind of like the way that light was going in there. And we can change stuff about the water. We can make the water more opaque. We can also give the water some hint of color. So just added a little bit of blue into that watercolor there. And now we have all these little water balls. You can make rain. Another thing for 3D stuff, refraction index. That's how you spell it, right? And also there's two definitions of anisotropic. Yeah, so anisotropic and then isotropic. They bend light differently when it hits the surface of an object. Anisotropic reflections are stretched across a surface due to a consistent orientation or pattern of roughness of the surface. That's so cool. I love it. It's like physics. It is physics. Okay, let's go to our reflection color. Let's play with some colors. Maybe we want the reflection color to be blue, or maybe we want to tint it like white. Great. All that's coming out pretty nicely for the water here. Now the only problem with Redshift when you have this much simulation is you can't play it back entirely in real time. So I kind of just have to play around with the settings here and then just hit play to refresh the frame. This is why I might want to upgrade to a fancier graphics card, is so that I can play stuff back in real time with the reflections on, with animations turned on, and get really cool lighting effects that way. Looks like with the water reflection, I'm seeing these really bad hard lines in our water material. So I don't want to see that. So I'm going to go to my roughness and roughen up the material a little bit so that it's more of these like crystally jelly beans. I don't know. I'm going to also reduce or I'll turn up the reflection strength, but then turn down the weight of the refraction. And then we go to our diffuse color and just play with some colors in there. And then our backlighting color and our reflection color. Cool, so we got these crystal balls. Great. Great. Okay. Cool. I'm going to end the live stream here on Instagram and maybe spend a little bit more time here on Twitch. But thank you for being here on Instagram. We're streaming live onto Twitch TV/Don Allen III. See you there. Okay, that video is now deleted. So now we're just streaming here on Twitch. So other cool things about Redshift is it has post effects. Take a look at this gear icon. You can turn on bloom. You can turn on LUTs and different color grades that you can apply to your whole shot. So I have a LUT turned on here. We can add different LUTs and different effects if you want to. These are almost like the filters inside of Instagram. I use them as starting points, or if I'm in a rush, I'll use them as the final product. But it just depends on what kind of mood you're going for your animation, what kind of look you want, what kind of feel you want. You can also turn that off. You can make your own LUTs by turning on the color controls and going into here and just defining what you want red to do. Where do you want red to be present and where do you want red to not be present. So by adding red into the highlights and decreasing the reds in the shadows, you get this nice blue tone. You can go to the green channel. We could maybe increase the greens in the highlights and then decrease the greens in the shadows if you want more magenta look. So this is called color grading or color correction. And you can make these, I'm playing with the colors exactly how I like to make like my own filter. If you don't like the filter presets, you can just make your own filter for the way that you want light to be interpreted on your shot. You can also turn on photographic lighting, which tries to even it out and pretends like the whole shot is shot on different films. You can change your ISO, your f-stop, your vignetting on the frame. So it treats it like a camera, which I thought was pretty cool. Great. And then we also have bloom. Bloom is what happens when light leaks into your lens and kind of bends light around highlighted objects. So by just playing with the bloom here, you can create like a little bit of a haze into your shot, which might be kind of cool to add. Oh, thank you, PugMatt, for all the 3D stuff. You got some definitions on refractive index numbers. I don't know that, to be honest. It's like chemistry and physics. Yeah, it is very much like chemistry because they looked at the way they looked at the way photons of light bent through different materials to get all those numbers. It's really cool. Cool. So we got all these glass pearls almost at the beach here, and then at the end here we get this beam that comes across. Kind of just blurs things out volumetrically. Just a cool effect. Cool. I like it. And let's say you're happy with this. You could then just render out your frames and be done with it. So, but before I do that, I'm just going to turn on a couple of LUTs, see if I have any luck by adding a percentage of a LUT on top of this to just add a little bit more contrast to my scene. Great. So that's contrast, exposure, contrast, exposure, just kind of playing with the settings here to get the look that I want. And then once you're happy with the look that you have in here, we can just export it out. So that's what we'll end with. So I'll go to File, no, not File. We go to this button here, and we change our renderer to Redshift. In Blender, you'll just render from cycles, or iRay. I think it has that one too, or I might be getting that mixed up. And then we can go to our outputs here, and I want to have all my frames as my outputs. You have the size. Since I want to speed this up, I'm going to divide this in half. Oh, not in half. That's too small. Let me do 720 by 1280. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah. So we'll do 720 pixels by 1280 pixels. So it's a lot smaller file, and it'll be much faster for me to export. We got our resolution. If you want to be real smart and real careful with your Redshift materials, you can go into here and you can dial in exactly how the render engine works. But since I'm not too freaked out about that, I mean, usually the only thing I typically change is the number of samples. But keep in mind, if you increase this number a lot, you're going to make your render times very, very long. The quality is going to be better, but at some point you have to ask yourself, is the quality improvement that much better that I should like waste all my computer time? So I might just double this one at least. Actually, no, I'm happy with it. I'm not going to do it. You can increase the sample size if you want there to be less noise in your picture. All this is looking great. Last thing I want to do is just change the file type. So I could save this as TIFF files, or I can save this as a sequence of PNGs or something. And then I'm going to choose the file that we want to save it to. We'll go to Twitch 2, Beach Cliff Tracking. We'll make a new folder in here. I'm going to call this render. Yeah, RNDR. Or render, because I forgot the D. And we'll just call this file render1. And we'll save it. So much knowledge, to be honest, on. I like it, but some are like this expression and say, why do we need to know some of this stuff for some of our majors? Well, yeah, it's a good point. This stuff is useful if you want to be in the visual effects space, if you want to make graphics for concepts, if you want to make augmented reality and CGI. But if you're not interested in any of that stuff, then it's not really relevant, you know? So then, you know, it can be entertaining to watch and you can learn from it. You can learn a lot about 3D, but if you don't want to use this for personal projects or for professional use, then this information is rather useless. But for my work, and this stuff is super useful for me. All right, so with all of that set up, we have this, we have a place to save our files to. We're happy with the resolution of it. We click this button, and it's going to now render all of our frames out. And it just kind of goes through and does its thing. I have it. It's actually way too noisy. I can see all these pixels in here. That does not look good. But let me hit play and just see what it's looking like. We can choose a different way to play it back. I use ping pong. This will play it back and forth, so you can get an idea of what your frames are going to look like. Since this is looking really bad with the resolution, it might be worthwhile to go and add more samples, but I want to use my computer tonight, so I'm not going to do that. I might just leave it, because at the end of the day, someone's going to watch it on the screen. It's going to be about this small on their phone screen. But there you have it, folks. That's how you do it. That's how you do the visual effects. Is that what I called it? What's the name of this stream? Do I have it on here? Where do I put the stream name? Yeah, so how to add VFX to any footage. We didn't end up using Substance. We mostly just used After Effects and Cinema4d. So I will just update that name right there. And this was not sculpture. We didn't do any modeling. This was animation, 3D modeling. Yeah, update that. Okay, cool. So let me close this. All right, so thank you so much for watching Creativity with Don Allen III Live. And, this is our third Twitch stream. And hopefully, you learned a lot of stuff that might be useful for your work in the real life. And yeah, we're just going to let this render out and see what we have. I'll be posting the final results on Instagram at Don Allen III that you see down there. But yeah, that's it. You see it. That's all the steps. It's a lot of stuff. thank you, Pug, for being here. So much for moderating. Thank you for everybody that joined us today. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me, probably through Instagram. And I will consider making a Discord for us, but I'm not sure about that yet, because I don't know if I want to get that many more notifications. Maybe. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. Anywho,